All right, so first of all, let me start off by telling you all I am extremely competitive. And so everyone that did not come to this session needs to know they made a mistake. Right? So on 3, we're going to scream and laugh and hysterically just at them because they are not here. Right? So on 3, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I love it. So women of power, how many of you all have had a situation where you were wondering, should I or should I not take this risk? Right? And how many of you are like, I decided not to because I was a little bit scared? And you regretted it. So today, this afternoon, we have these extremely powerful women who are here to talk to you about taking the risk, because not doing it is what's in our way. Now, everyone that has something to take notes on, raise it up for me.
All right, I see a few Toyota books in the house.
Y'all, these women are about to drop some nuggets on you. So make sure you write them down, because learning happens when a change in behavior occurs. If no change in behavior happens, you just had an experience. You didn't learn anything, right? So we're here to have a change in behavior. So listen to what these women have to say to you. So over here to my right, we have the phenomenal Miss Sheri Riley.
Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Let's give them a round of applause. Let me tell you what her superpower is. Sheri's superpower is to help you get your life together, right? She says do not spend 100% of your time on 10% of who you are not, right? And so she has a book on exponential living. So Sheri, tell us a little bit about you.
About me. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Again, I am Sheri Riley. I am a wife. I am a mother. I am a daughter. And I'm an entrepreneur. And we all know that is not easy, right? But I figured out how to make it simple. And I do that through what I call the 9 principles of exponential living. Because what I've discovered is that no amount of money or titles or relationships, no amount of sex, no amount of access or influence will ever buy us or give us peace. What we desire most is peace. Peace is the new success. And so my book and my platform and my message is how do we live in the power of peace?
The power of peace. That is amazing. So to her right is Miss Mia. Y'all, Miss Mia's superpower is the superpower of chillness. You see it, right? When everything was going haywire, we were like, his session's behind time, or what are we doing? She was like, oh, it's going to be fine. We were like, it's not fine. She was like, actually, it is. So Mia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I am Mia. I'm the Director of Brand and Multicultural Marketing Strategy with Toyota. And just a little bit about me. It's appropriate that I am responsible for brand marketing strategy because I'm all about branding. And I know that we delivered some gifts to you this week, and some of the books were about branding and about maintaining that brand authenticity, living adventurously, rejecting the status quo. And so I am about making sure that every day that I am authentically living my own brand, not the Toyota brand, although I believe in the Toyota brand as well, but I believe in my own brand even more. And so making sure that every day as I enter rooms, representing myself, representing my company, representing my mama, representing the Phillips name, that I am being true to who I am. And I think that regardless of where you see me, whether it's on this stage, whether it's out in the audience, whether it's sitting at home, whether it's at work, you don't get too many different Mias. Now, there are some things that I can't say on this stage that I might say in my living room. Same thing at the office that I don't say at home. But for the most part, I don't think people will say that you ever see a different side of me, a side that I didn't know existed, or I didn't know that about you. Because pretty much, and I have some people that work here with me and a couple that work for me will tell you, yeah, she lets it all out every day. So maintaining brand authenticity is important to me, and it should be important to each one of you too, because nobody else can be you but you. So continue to do that.
Absolutely amazing. And to her right is the phenomenal Miss Lakitsia, or depending on how you come at Akeisha. And let me tell you her superpower, y'all. She has the superpower of omnipresence. She was actually in Miami last night receiving an award and made it back here in time to be with you all. So, yes. So, Lakitsia, tell us about yourself.
I have to kick it off by saying, like a good neighbor, your State Farm agent, Lakitsia Jones, is in the building. And by the time we get done today, I want every single one of you to realize I need a State Farm agent. So it's a pleasure to be here, certainly because I have experience on both sides as an operations employee for over a decade. And then after I loved what I was doing, I loved my constant paycheck, I loved my 401k. I even loved the fact that our CEO gave us a handwritten card on our birthday. But I wanted more. I wanted to give back to my community in my own way. I wanted to do what I wanted to do, live balanced, have life, have fun, and be able to do something that impacted who we are. So I became a State Farm agent. Became a State Farm agent in Miami, in a Spanish-dominated community, and then I was so good at it, they said, girl, we know you don't speak Spanish, we're going to put you in a Russian-dominated community. So out of 19,000 agents, I'm so excited to be in Wakanda land here with you all because I'm great. I'm happy and I'm here and I'm glad to talk to you about risk today, one of my favorite subjects. She said my superpower is omnipresence. I want to talk to you about another superpower, which is money. I'm going to simplify your money, and we'll get to that later.
Awesomeness. So y'all stand up and give these ladies a round of applause because they are absolutely amazing. All right, you may take your seats. I feel like I need to do Wendy. Sit down. How you doing? All right, so the first thing I want to talk about, and we all know how risks happen, and some of us take risks and some of us are pushed. And it doesn't matter how you get there, it just matters that you go ahead and do it. So I want to hear from the ladies, when you took your biggest risk, first of all, what was your biggest risk? And did you jump or were you pushed? Let's start over here with Sheri, since you're right here.
I've taken many risks that were life-changing, but the first one, I wasn't pushed and I didn't choose it. I actually crashed and burned. I absolutely crashed and burned. This was pre-9/11. I left LaFace Records and I was flying from West Palm Beach to Los Angeles. I was in first class. When I landed in LA, when I finally woke up, the flight attendants had been standing over me for however long because the plane was absolutely empty. Now, first class, that means this entire Delta flight from West Palm Beach, I know how big this plane is, to Los Angeles was absolutely empty. And the flight attendants kept saying, you have got to wake up. You have got to wake up. And when I finally woke up, I drove to my girlfriend's house. I laid on her floor. I was flying out for Usher's You Make Me Want a video. And I laid on her floor for about 4 hours. I went back to the airport. I flew back to Atlanta. I sat in my house for 7 days in the dark. And I knew when I got up out of my house, up off of my floor, that I had to make a change. So the first time wasn't pushed, it wasn't a choice, I literally crashed and burned. The second time is when I went from a company I had for 17 years into full-time as an empowerment speaker and author. And that time it was a 3-year plan that I did not want to do. I felt like I could have the business and I could be an empowerment speaker. So I resisted it for 3 years. For 3 years. And then the Lord had a different plan for me. He said, at some point you're going to get this. I'm going to strip you of everything that you think makes you you until you take the risk that I've already done for you. I've already done it. And so the second time, I was pushed. Yeah.
What about you, Ms. Mia?
I would say, and it's not necessarily the biggest risk, because when I talked about this, beforehand, I said it sounds like something minor, but it is something major in corporate America, and I think some women are going to be able to relate to it. So I jumped. I wasn't pushed, although my hair probably pushed me into it. But it actually is all about going natural, deciding to depart from my straight, relaxed locks that had been my crowning glory, my mane for many years, was what I was known by, in addition to other things, but people knew me for hair. I had fabulous hair, still have fabulous hair. It's just truly mine. It's just out doing what it wants to do now. And that was a risk. You know, it was something that did not come lightly. I had to think very carefully about it because I knew the trajectory that I was on at the time in my company and my career. I was at that time planning to go back out into our field organization, where at that time there were no other African American women in leadership positions in our field organization. And so to go out into a leadership position and to risk not being able to go out because I changed my hair was just a reality, right? You change your hair, it changes your look, it changes the way people feel about you. And so deciding to take that risk was big for me. It was big because I knew that perhaps my career could depend on it. But I think at the end of the day, and I'll get into this later, allowing myself to do that, just giving myself the permission to, you always preach about being who you are, so let your hair be what it is. It wants to do things that you're making it not do. Let it do what it wants to do. And doing that freed me up from so many other hang-ups. And so I jumped, I wasn't pushed. But like I said, I think it was an internal push and not necessarily an external push. And it, at the end of the day, it's paid off.
Wonderful. Lakitsia, what about you?
Absolutely. When I jumped, for me, I jumped into becoming a State Farm agent. I jumped because I liked what I was doing. As I mentioned earlier, it was a great company. It was stability. I could count my check every 2 weeks. But I jumped because not only did my friends and family tell me I would be a great entrepreneur, and I didn't have the faith in myself. Other people saw it in me first. I jumped when I was ready to, and I had enough cash that I knew that if I fell, I would be able to fall on a mattress instead of...
So I want to stay here with you on that one, Lakitsia. So one of the things that scares us about taking risks is that we understand that there could be catastrophic impacts if this thing doesn't go well. So tell us what you did and what you recommend for people to do to kind of guard against the potential for those types of impacts.
Absolutely. If I told you that my husband is amazing in terms of a support system, you already know that he's amazing. If I tell you that I rely on God, of course, God is my source. That's amazing too. But what I'm going to share with you in terms of, how we did it is to support the Wakanda strategy, I call it. And I think there are 3 people that you need to have in your life. I think the first you need to have in your life is that person that you look up to, that person that you admire the most. Barbara Carr, are you in the room? Barbara Carr is my VPA, and I've watched her from afar when I first came into State Farm. You have to have a person that you aspire to be like. The second person that I'll tell you that you have to have on the Wakanda strategy is a peer, and those are the people that you surround yourself with. Every State Farm agent in the room, will you stand up? Natalie. These are my girls. There are many of us around the country, and we support each other very well. Not only are we honest with each other, but we give each other the advice that's honest to be able to continue to be who you are. The third person that you need to have in your life is that person that you pull up, that person that you mentor. Natalie, will you please stand?
Natalie.
Stephanie, will you please stand? The amazing thing about having mentees is that what you don't realize is that you're actually mutually benefiting each other, because while they think they're learning, you're learning about yourself too. So for me, I think it's having the Wakanda mentor-mentee relationship that helps you to get better.
Awesomeness. So Mia, quick question for you. Tell us about a risk that you wish you had taken. You look back on it and you were too scared, you didn't do it, but you look back and say, you know what, I really wish I had taken that risk.
There's not too many things I haven't jumped out there and done. But I will say, and I don't necessarily regret it because I'm still here and I've been able to do great things, but at the time that Toyota was moving from Southern California to Dallas, I had been presented with a couple of pretty big opportunities to leave the company. And a lot of people at that time were leaving to go to other companies because people wanted to stay in LA and didn't want to move to Dallas, although I'm very happy I did. Any Dallas people in the house outside of my folks? All right, my Texans. Well, I'm very happy that I did make the trip to Texas. But so there were opportunities for me to jump ship. I've been with Toyota 27 years, started when I was 3, as far as all of you know. You're being held to that today. But I've been with the company 27 years, and at the time that we made the announcement, I think it was right around that 24th year with the organization that I said, hey, I'm getting of the age, and we all think about this, that I'm not gonna, if I don't go into business for myself and wanna be marketable to another company, I'm coming close up to that time frame where people start looking at you like, oh, you don't have new ideas. You're just an old dog that wants to try some new tricks. So I think I do sometimes, I think back and say, what would have happened if I had taken the jump? But taking that jump and agreeing to take that jump got me into the job that I'm in now. Or I should say that I'm in for the next few days because I just got moved on to another job in the corporation. But it's a bigger job, bigger responsibility. But this job has ideally been a fit for who I am. It's about the Toyota brand, which after 27 years, if I don't know it, then I'm not going to get it. And it's about being multicultural, which, look at me, you know that I am. So it has been a great fit for me. But I have other passions and other loves outside of automotive. And one day, I wouldn't say that I regret not making the decision, but one day I will take a jump into some of those other passions.
But not be pushed.
But not be pushed. I'll jump when I'm ready to jump. Too many people can't. Only my mama can push me, and she can only push me so far.
So Sheri, you told us about your first situation where you crashed and burned, and then you had your company for 17 years and realized I have to pivot. So in this process, we get scared and we think, you know what, I want to quit. When you have those moments, what stopped you? What made you say, you know what, no, I'm not giving up here?
The why. You know, the how will come. The how, you can talk to peers, you can talk to mentors. The how will come. Most of us start with the how instead of the why. And the why for me is, I thought I was an anomaly. I thought I was the only one who had this amazing career. I was, 25 years old, making 6 figures, bought my mom a home. I had everything I'd ever worked for. It was the ultimate career, but I didn't have a good life. And I was miserable. And to have everything you've ever desired and you're miserable is a very trapping reality. I was trapped in my own success. And I really thought I was an anomaly. And so as I began to go on this journey of exponential living, I had to really sit back and go, well, is this just me? And it wasn't me. Because I had others start coming to me going, okay, Sheri, how do I do this? How do I do this? And so the why for me was, if this is not just my truth, and there's others that are trapped in their success, or they're trapped in this amazing life that they have, and they know there's more, and they're trying to figure out, how do I get the more? That drove me, because I knew what it was to be curled up on your bathroom floor, feeling like you had nowhere to go, and then get up and make decisions that change culture, that made decisions that impacted millions of people, and then you went back home and sit in the dark and curled up on your bathroom floor. And you had friends that you could talk to, but they didn't have the why, they didn't have the how either. And so the why for me is everyone in this room. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't give up on me because I needed this. I'm my first client. I'm my most important client. I just share everything with everyone else. So I couldn't give up on me. But then it was like when I looked in this room and I had a very close friend of mine commit suicide. And I said, Sheri, you're being selfish because you're understanding what this takes and you're not sharing it with the world. And so the risk was, when I started this journey of Pieces to New Success was 15 years ago, when we were in the height of money and access and private jets and everything was just blowing up. And people looked at me like I was crazy. Like, girl, please, ain't nobody gonna sit around and kumbaya all day. We got deals, but it has nothing to do with not achieving the greatness that's outside of us. It has everything with achieving the greatness that's within us and being that authentic self. So my why is what drives me. Even when I want to quit, and as an entrepreneur, every entrepreneur in this room knows, 6 out of 7 days you want to quit. The 7th day, you're just too busy to recognize it. Right? So the why is what keeps me going.
And so I want you all, everyone on the panel, to speak to that. it's so easy to wake up in the morning and go through your checklist of how I'm going to go through the day, how I'm going to live this life, how I'm going to advance my career. But can you speak to, all three of you, speak to how do you get past that how to the why? Because that how is big and foreboding. So how do you get past that big obstacle that's how do I live every day to the why do I live every day?
Can I start with that? The first is we have to make a decision. So many of us just won't make the decision because we'll get caught up in the how. Make the decision. You can course correct or you can rinse and repeat, but you can't do anything until you start moving. So the first thing we have to do is stop saying, I don't know. How many people have said, I don't know in the last week? Raise them high, raise them high. All these amazing, brilliant human beings who are champions. And we get caught in, I don't know, this is what I'm going to do, but I don't know. Right? Who's done that? I don't know. And then you talk about what you're going to do, and then you go, but girl, I don't know what I'm going to do. So we have to start with make a decision. The second thing is we have to give ourselves permission to get help. Give ourselves permission to get help. And then we have to give ourselves permission and give ourselves grace. Give ourselves grace. It's all about the journey, not the destination. And then the third thing is we have to decide, what are you going to give up to go up? What are you going to give up to go up? There is always a cost. The Bible says, count the cost. Sometimes we just don't want to give up to go up because the fear of what's on the other side is greater than the fear or the challenge that has us locked in where we are. So make a decision. Stop saying, I don't know. Give ourselves permission to get help. Give ourselves permission to give ourselves grace. And then really be committed to what will we give up to go up. Iyanla said less is more. When I took 80% of everything off my to-do list, my productivity increased tremendously, exponentially, right? And I'm going to talk about that more a little later.
Yeah, I'm just going to expand on that because I think that's really important and it's key. It's key for as women, we tend to, and I went to a conference this year and got this term from the conference a couple of years ago, we tend to over-row our own boats, right? We're rowing, people are throwing stuff in. Yeah, I got it, I can handle it. Meanwhile, the boxes are piling, and our little ship is starting to sink in the water and we're trying to row. So stop over-rowing your own boat. Iyanla said it today, Cheryl just said it to you. Learn how to say no to some things. And that is very difficult. That's a radicalized choice, right? To be able to say no. Even at work, to say no. We can't get that done right now. So what is the priority? What do we want to get done? Because if we want to get that done, something else is going to have to fail. Something else is going to have to sit on the back burner. Everything can't be important all the time. So the why for me is to be able to get out there and let people know that it is okay. The world's not going to end because you say no to one thing. And it's better that than you being in the boat by yourself rowing. The other why is why I get up and do this every day is to make people understand we all have to get in that boat together. Rather than to be rowing, you just pull on the one oar. It's so much easier when you have somebody, your co-pilot on the left or the right and the right-hand side rowing with you. And stop trying to do everything yourself. And I'm talking really to Mia right now, and you guys just happen to be the beneficiaries. Because in order to get things done, in order to succeed and to be a perfectionist, I'm like, I want to get it done. Not only do I want to get it done, but it has to be right? Because we don't have the ability to mess up. Let's face it, that we are a lot of times the shining examples. Either that, you're the shining example, or you're the example that has fallen by the wayside. But we have to kind of be the pillar of how things should be done the right way if we want to make sure that people that look like us make it to where we are and where we want to go. So the why for me is just stop overdoing it and get some people on the boat with you.
My why started with a conversation with me and God. And I started the conversation being Lakitsia. And when I ended the conversation, I was Lakitsia. But let me tell you how it happened. I went to God and I said, okay, God, I see a lot of things in the world. I see people who really don't know how to manage the risk of everyday life. I see people shopping for car insurance on 10 minutes, making sure that they do not understand that if they get into a car accident, all of their livelihood is tied to how much coverage they have on that car. I saw people making decisions about life insurance so that it was limited just to burial expenses, not realizing that people like Coach Harbaugh is getting half of his $7 million salary paid by permanent life insurance. I also saw people wanting to retire at an early age, but not knowing or realizing that their money can outlast them, and knowing that the women in this room are on average retiring at the age of 49 and 56, but not understanding that you're going to live until 100, so the money cannot outlast you. I thought and said to God, you need to hurry and send someone. And he said, I did. I sent you. I said, okay, will I be able to make what I'm making? Will I be able to give back to the community? Will I be able to live the lifestyle the way that I like to? And he said, yes. He opened my eyes when I got a bonus one year that was equivalent to, this was one bonus out of 2 bonuses and not my annual salary, which is why I want you all to consider thinking about becoming a State Farm agent. It was... because there's not a lot of us who are State Farm agents, and I want you to let this marinate. When the bonus was equivalent to my annual salary as a leader in a Fortune 50 company. My experience was limited to watching the man come by the house every day to collect the money from my grandfather. We all know the debit agents that collect with the life insurance. And when he passed away, he had 10 life insurance policies, but there was only one that paid, because the other 9 were accidental death and dismemberment. So when I got to the end of my prayer and he said, I did, I sent you, I knew my why. I knew what I needed to do. And now I'm sharing that prayer with you all because I know you're praying. I know you're asking. I know you want to figure out what you're going to do. So I say, encourage yourself to become a State Farm agent. And even if you don't become a State Farm agent, every woman in this room needs one. That's my why.
I love it. You know why this sister's winning, right?
I told y'all they was going to drop some nuggets on you. You can see the State Farm table right over there across the hall when you leave. I love these women. They have been phenomenal. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then we're going to open it up to you all for questions. So ladies, answer this question quickly because I really want to hear what questions you ladies have for this panel. Really quickly, you often hear the phrase, be the person you needed. If you could go back to your younger self when you were at the edge looking over and saying, am I going to jump? Really quickly, in 1 or 2 sentences, what would you tell her?
I would tell Lakitsia.
Not Lakeisha.
Learn the rules. Then you can win the game. When you win the game, then you can change the rules. Yeah. But you cannot change the rules until you win the game, Keisha.
Yeah. Mia, what would you tell her?
I would tell her to work smarter, not harder. There are ways to get things done, and there are things that you absolutely have to do yourself, but there are other things that you can leverage the resources around you, and it will save some time and some years on your life and some wrinkles on your forehead if you work smarter and not harder.
Awesome. Sheri, what would you tell her?
Wow, I've had this conversation with my 18-year-old self many, many times, and what I would tell her is, you know you're excellent, and you know you work hard, because ever since you were in the 1st grade, you've gotten A's, and you've played basketball, and you've done all of these amazing things. But what you don't know, 18-year-old Sheri, is how to laugh. I would tell my 18-year-old self, you know you're going to show up in excellence. You know you're going to show up and do more than everyone else. You know that you're going to continue to work hard to be great. Don't forget to laugh. Awesome. Don't forget to laugh in every moment, and not just at a great movie. Just laugh.
And I'll tell you this, so Sheri actually lives by this. Today she came in and she was laughing like, girl, this crashed.
Oh my God. Everything has crashed. My website was hacked this morning, so everything is down. All my systems are down. And I'm just laughing. She was like, I
was like, are you okay? Are you having a breakdown? Because you smile. I was like, somebody call somebody for her.
And here's the thing. My husband is like, you have grown into truly who you are. Because Sheri, a few years ago, would be in her room crying oh my God, Lord, why'd you let this happen? The enemy is going to fight me this whole day. What we going to do? All these amazing women, da-da-da-da. I would have been like, you did it. When my husband texted me and said, oh my God, your site is down, while we were sitting in there listening to Iyanla, I'm literally like, okay, went to the site. They sent me the email. You have about 25,000 malware. It has been hacked. It has been done. This was sent. That was sent. I'm literally texting. I was like, oh, okay. And I'm sitting there going, you not crying? You're not upset? And what I said in that moment is, all you can control is the spirit and the words that come out of your heart and soul. That's all you can control. Your IT person has got to do the rest, so why you first? And that's what I did. I started laughing.
All right, ladies, let's open it up for questions. Raise your hand if you have a question. And so let me tell you how questions work. Don't play. Questions are brief and they end in a question mark. If you can put a period behind it, that's a statement, not a question. We're asking questions. Go for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. My question's for Lakitsia. And I'm...
You sure you don't want Keisha, girl?
I need Keisha. You need Keisha? So I'm Series 63 and Series 6, and I've worked for MetLife and John Hancock. Excellent. But now I am a CEO of a call center. I gave up on all that, even though I'm really passionate about it, because like you, I worked with people who didn't look like me. I didn't know that before getting into the industry, that I would be helping people build their wealth, but not really getting to the audience that I was looking to get to. So my question for you is, outside of, because I understand now how you do it, but what type of tools are you using, and what can you recommend for someone who is still licensed but not operating in that arena, who's watched, like you, your grandfather pay out? And like my stepmother raised me, and she did the same thing and was murdered. Yeah. And when I went to go through her policy and I worked in the industry, I found out it was so dismal, I was embarrassed. So what type of tools are you using, and what can you recommend to get to the audience that, really needs this help and advice?
Absolutely. I think the first thing that's important for us to do is to realize that you need a State Farm agent. That's the first tool. Yeah. Hashtag call Keisha. I think the second tool that's so important is, from a cyber perspective, all of the tools are right at our fingertips. StateFarm.com is amazing in terms of learning how to budget, learning how to set up a business, learning how to set up accounts, learning that, how to get a quote on different things that you need, whether you should pay off a house or if you should mortgage the house. There's a lot of electronic tools that you can take advantage of as well. But I think the third thing, which was a very important question that you asked, which is how do we get to our people? How do we get to our communities? And I think for me, I've made a choice to not stay in my office behind the desk. I get out into the community, which is one of the reasons why I got an award last night, because every year I give out more than $50,000 in scholarships to at-risk students, because I was the recipient of a scholarship. So I knew that when I went to Florida A&M University, any rattlers in the house? Strike, and strike again. I knew that when I got a debutante scholarship from Delta Sigma Theta that I would become a soror. So having said that, I think there's a piece of this that says we have to get out into the community. And sometimes that means that we have to go into churches. Sometimes that means that we need to go into ball clubs. Sometimes that means that we just need to go out and socialize and get our nails done with our girlfriends and have a spa day and talk about money. But I think there's a lot of information that needs to be talked about as it relates to money, and I think it's up to us to do it, because you and I are very smart at this. We love it. We can help our people understand, but we got to get out there to them to help them know it.
And you have to overcome a stigma.
You're about to make a statement.
Right. I love it.
Her question was, how do we overcome the stigma? I got you, girl. I got you. Hashtag call Keisha.
There's a question in the back.
All right, thank you. Okay. I should know how to do this, and I'll tell you why. I'm not going to take the mic from her. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lo with the Flow. Real full name is L'Oreal. I'm a radio host in Tampa, Florida. The station is WMNF. Good afternoon, everyone, again. So this question is for the panel. I don't have anyone in particular to direct it to, but this is what I would like to know. How do I maintain my brand as a person? How do I maintain my brand as I'm leveraging others and partners, organizations that will catapult and further my platform? But how do I maintain my brand and maintain ownership of that? I do not want to be influenced by other partners' directives. I want to be my authentic self and remain true to myself.
I'll jump on this and I'll try to be brief. But one of the things that I talked about when maintaining your brand is, one, you have to know yourself very well, right? And then you know who your brand is. Additionally, you have to realize what is the brand that's going to, what does success look like for the person that is branded as the marketing executive? And making sure that those things align with skill sets that you actually have in your own back pocket. For me, you know, and I started off with the hair, but the creativity piece, creativity goes along with marketing. I wanted to be seen as someone that could be in marketing. I wasn't in marketing at the time. Creativity I knew was in my back pocket, but not something I leveraged all the time. I had to leverage other tools, but knowing that in order to be in marketing, I needed to be creative, then I started to make sure that the way that I was outwardly manifesting my inward creativity was showcasing, so that when the marketing people saw me and they asked, what is Mia's brand? Well, a couple of things that are authentic about Mia came to light, but creativity also came up. So you need to identify what it is about those partners that would make success, what looks like success to them. And then do you share some of those assets and make sure that that comes through in your authentic personal brand as well? Because your brand can be several things, and not everything is always in the forefront all the time. But if you know, you have to know what it takes to get to that level, and then you have to make sure that people outwardly see it. If they don't see it, they're never going to think of you in that way.
And can I just add to that is owning your own integrity, but then with that, recognizing when opportunities are actually distractions. Because we live in this society of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. Right? So any and everything that comes wrapped up as an opportunity, most of it is actually a distraction. So if you really want to know what aligns with your brand, look at, okay, the authenticity, the integrity. Does the value set that I bring align with the value set that they bring? Can they really catapult my brand, or are they just going to align and we track together? Because sometimes you want to track together because the brand aligns well, but sometimes the brand needs to catapult you. And if it doesn't catapult you, is it the right time? And when we really look at every opportunity that comes, so many of them are distractions. So just real simple, is this opportunity something for me, or is this really a distraction from what I'm really supposed to be focused on as far as my brand alignment?
So I'll just add. Go ahead. I'm going to go back to something that I said. Earlier about the rules, and I'll share an example. When I first opened, I was so excited. I went out to one of my customers' houses to meet him, and I went out. I'm a very practical person. I'm an introvert, actually, and yeah, I know y'all don't believe it. I know. But I went to his house in my Buick Century that I won on The Price is Right. When he came out of the house, he asked, whose car is this? Now, this is a person who owns a very large real estate company. The minimum dollar of the houses that he builds are at $2 million. So he says, whose Buick Century is this? I'm happy. I'm like, oh, that's my Buick Century. I won it on The Price is Right. I'm ready to tell him the story. He said to me, can you make sure you don't leave any oil on my driveway? That's when I learned you have to know the rules. So even with your branding, depending on what client I'm going to meet with, I understand that I have to look the part, because people don't buy product and people don't buy prices, they buy people. Mm-hmm. So when you learn the rules and you win the game, now you have the credibility to become more authentic at who you are, because you and I both know I cannot go into every boardroom in my Keisha locks that I love to wear, don't get me wrong. And not every conversation I can have about being natural with my hair that I bought last week. So learning the rules, winning the game, and then changing the rules is a lesson that I learned very early.
That's good.
Ladies, I wish we had more time because these women, I know you're like, oh, I wish we had more time. But really quickly, Sheri is going to be across the hall. She's selling her book on exponential living. Let me tell you, you need to add this to your list of books. Keisha is going to be up here, and so is Mia. And if you're interested in being a State Farm agent, they are going to be across at the State Farm.
And if you need a State Farm agent.
Ladies, let's give them a standing ovation before they leave. These women are absolutely amazing.